Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today I'm going to take you through my weird Stormcast Eternal Kitbash guys, who people have started calling Steamcast Eternals, which I really like. It's a cool name. I did do a community post about this a little while ago, but for some reason the picture has disappeared, and I just cannot restore it for whatever reason. So, we're going to do a little video instead. Now, my kind of idea for these guys was very slapdash, very last minute. Signed up for Mortal Realms, wanted some Nighthaunt, thought Mortal Realms would be a good way to get into Age of Sigmar a bit. You know, it comes with different bits of lore every week, and it's actually pretty well done, pretty easy to get through, pretty easy to read. And the Nighthaunt stuff I really like, as you know from yesterday's range review of the Nighthaunt range. I wasn't too bothered about the Stormcast Eternals. They came with the magazine. Sure, I'll build them, I'll paint them. But I'd already resolved not to kitbash the Nighthaunt at all. The most I might do is remove a couple of weird rat face or horse head skulls and replace them with normal skulls. Beyond that, pretty happy with the entire range. Nothing I really want to do to them. The Stormcast Eternals, though, I just wasn't that bothered about. I was like, well, I'll do something. It'd be fun to have them. But then I sat there and looked at them and thought, maybe I should try and, make them tech enhanced in some way. And that is where my actual line of thinking stopped, and I just started gluing bits to models, and that is how we've ended up with these. So, this is of course a Stormcast Eternal. He's got his massive hammer. He also has a Space Marine helmet, which still does look vaguely like a Space Marine helmet. I think it's one from one of the vehicle kits, because it's got a weird, chunky, armoured, lower half, and it's got these, rivets all over it, so it's still, it is still Space Marine, it's just not kind of stereotypical Space Marine helmet, if that makes sense. He's also got a couple of servos on his legs for added strength, which have come from the Space Marine Centurion kit, which was very much an on a whim sort of idea. I was like, I should try that. Yeah, I'll try that, see what it looks like, and I liked it, so I kept it. Doesn't have any on that side, mostly because I don't have enough of these little bits to go around. These are actually, they're from, the support strut / servo bits on the Centurions, but I didn't use them on my Centurions. My Centurions are, not standard, funnily enough, and so I had a bunch of them left over. But luckily, the way these have been sculpted, you've got a bit of bare leg armour there, but you don't have any on that side, so technically there should be bulges where they are on that leg, but there aren't, but who cares. And on the back, we've got, again, a bit more of that kind of servo support strut thing going on there, which my vague sort of, I don't know, in-universe lore idea is maybe it can go on one side to improve the swing of the weapon, and it moves over to the other when they block to improve blocking strength. I don't know, it's absolute gibberish, isn't it? But, trying to justify it after the fact is half the fun of random kit bashes that you never really planned, but then just decided to do anyway. So, that's that guy. He's relatively simple. We'll do another relatively simple as well, actually. So the guys with the magic crossbows, whatever they're called, he has got a Grey Knight helmet, which actually works really well on the Stormcast bodies. I can see why people have been using them to do Grey Knight conversions. It does work really well. Obviously, these have not been finished painted. I should point that out relatively early. I should have said it straight at the start, but whatever. They're not finished painted. There's just some base colours that have been put down, and there's a lot of experimentation and messing about that's going to happen with these guys until I find something I like. So, at the moment, it's just lead belcher, and then that's a bit of black contrast and a bit of brass, just because I wanted a bit of base colour on there and something to just kind of do a bit of pre-shading on, and then I'd decide what I was going to properly do later on, basically. So yeah, for this guy, we've got a little bit of the Ambot kit there, which turns his crossbow on and off. I don't know. We've got the Grey Knight head, which, as I say, I would like on these models, and then on the back, he's got a bit of Centurion kit on the back as well. That's one of the, I think it's from the last cannon. Is it from the last cannon? No, that's an Ambot piece. I do apologise. That's an Ambot piece. That's not a Centurion piece. That's one of the cables that goes around the side of the torso on the Ambot. So yeah, he's pretty simple, but he's got some stuff going on. They do get steadily a bit more extra. The first one I did was a bit mad. In fact, let's break it up. I'll show you the first one I did. So this was the the test case, the test model, so to speak. She was the first one I did these on. Technically, where that servo is doesn't make any sense, but who cares? And yeah, so she's got the 2 servos on the leg. She's got a Grey Knight sword instead of her big maul, which was a pain to get just right, so the actual, hilt of the sword made sense. I scraped a bunch of the stuff off the shield. That's got some Grelin earth over the top of it, which is then going to be painted all sorts of fancy weird colours to make it look like some sort of kind of crackly energy thing, hopefully. I mean, it might not work and I have to scrape it all off, but that's what I'm going to go for. We'll see if it works. At the back, we've got another one of the Centurion pieces, which is providing support to the back of the armour, maybe? And that is actually a piece of Centurion cabling, which is attaching to the top of there and going into the arm. So maybe that's giving her extra sword arm strength. Sure, why not? And I've left her head standard because it's one of the few bear heads that I really, really like. I like the face, I like the expression, I like the hair. It's a cool head. I think it works pretty well for these models. So yeah, she was the first one I did. She was like I was going to say proof of concept. It was just a random kit bashing attack. So I think that might be a bit of a grand statement. Going back to a crossbow dude, we have this guy. Now I quite like what's happened with this dude because I did a silly. He comes with a bear head, and I'd put an AdMech helmet on. One of the best, if not the best helmet that they do, because you can use it for literally everything, this helmet. It's so good. And I'd put a nice bit of, again, I believe that's a bit of ambot cabling going there. Some sort of power thing, maybe, for the magic crossbow. Again, who knows. The problem was that he's got a Stormcast Eternal helmet, he's holding it in his hand, he had a bare head, I chopped his head off, put that one on, but then he still had a Stormcast Eternal helmet there, which looked real silly, just carrying around a face that didn't fit anything else. So that, I believe, is from the grav cannon option that the Centurions have. Now, I can't remember whether it's part of the grav cannon itself, or whether it is part of the thing that goes on the other arm, like the rangefinder amplifier thing, whatever it's called. But I had one, and it fit over the head completely perfectly. So it actually just went over the thing's face, and it joined at the bottom there. And because his hand is wrapped around and holding it, instead of having a random Stormcast Eternal helmet under his arm, he now has some sort of weird lantern/rangefinder thing for his squad. Which was a nice, happy accident. It was just, oh, god damn it. How am I supposed to get rid of that? Can I stick something over the top? And because it's still got like the weird horsehair and it's got the spike, it just looks like some sort of weird arcane, half magic, half tech device, which has worked out surprisingly well for what was basically just an oh no moment. The quickest of quick fixes, but it seems to have worked out okay. Again, these are very like slapdash, they're very just thrown together. It was just done on a whim. There was no prior thinking behind this. It was just a case of, I'm just going to see what happens when I mess with this thing. Okay, so we've got another hammer, and oh man, how did I miss that? Oh, that's terrible. That's awful. Shocking. Well, I'll have to fix that later. So this is again another hammer and shield dude this time around. So he's got the little servos on his legs. Again, technically you should see bulges under the robe on this side, but you don't, and I'm not sculpting that out of green stuff, god no. Got another AdMech helmet there, but with the hood and kind of rebreather and eye lenses instead. The weapon is obviously just a standard hammer. He too has got his support strut on the back, which is on the hammer arm, so he can hit people harder. And I've used a Custodes shield instead of the Stormcast Eternal shields with a little minigun on it. So that's from the what's his name? Thundrix Profiteers, Grunstock's Profiteers. I think it's not a Warcry warband. Is it an Underworlds warband? A Shadespire warband? It might be a Shadespire warband. It's the steampunk floaty dwarf guy and his little retinue, the Profiteers, which I got just for parts. And It fit nicely in the hole just there, so now he's got a shield with a gun in it, because that's sort of technological and yeah. Quite a weird looking model, that one, but I'm happy with it. Then we've got another one of the crossbow guys. Girls, sorry, female Stormcast, I do apologise. So, yeah, this one is... yeah, so again, AdMech helmet with the hood and the rebreather. The actual crossbow thingy doesn't have any sort of enhancements on it. It's just the normal crossbow, but then she's got some sort of telescope thing, targeter, coming out over her shoulder, plugs into the back there, goes over the shoulder, and that piece, if I am not mistaken, is from the Warp Lightning Catapult. One of your little Skaven dudes who operates the catapult has got like a weird telescope on like a periscope contraption kind of thing. So that's what that is, and that's attached via cables from a Centurion's las cannon setup. So that's what that part is. Again, I didn't do the servos on the legs for the guys with the crossbows because I felt like they didn't need them. Your close combat guys get little leg servos. Your range dudes don't need it. They don't need it. It's fine. Plus, I don't have enough to go round, which is, partially part of the problem. I suppose I could try and get some more, but it's a lot of. It seems a bit excessive to buy a Centurion kit for the little circular bits you get with it. So yeah, that's the last of the crossbow ones. Then we have the Evocator, I think. I quite like this model. It's a nice model. Of course, I did mess with it again. So, still got the sword. I liked the sword. The sword was good. I didn't want to chop that off because I thought it was a cool weapon. But we have, again, an AdMech helmet with the cog over the top, which I felt was perfect for this kind of caster sort of idea. Still got the original staff, but I chopped a bunch off the top of it and attached one of the servo skull arrangements from the Centurions on top of that. Then I took half of a las cannon cable, again from the Centurions, plugged it into like the back and side of the anvil there, and placed another of those kind of grav pieces onto there. So that's the same piece as is on this guy, which I quite like them having the same piece. It sort of suggests that there's a repetition of technology there. Again, what they do, I don't know. Just I thought it looked cool. That's the entire thing behind it. See, sometimes you can go into a kitbash or a conversion and you're like, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. This is what I want. Like, that's what I did with this guy, right? So, this Centurion, ages and ages ago, I saw a conversion where a guy had Centurions that were holding the heavy bolters, underslung, and they had bare arms, and they didn't have, they'd reworked the armour significantly. And I really liked that, and I could never find that image again, but it always stuck with me, and I always wanted to try it myself. So when it came to Purge the Pit, I was like, well, I want to try and make my own version of that Centurion. So I knew what I was going for. I knew that I wanted them to be holding the heavy bolter like that, so I knew I needed like Devastator arms, or like Mark III or Mark IV heavy bolter arms, which I believe that is from this kit. That's actually 2 heavy bolters that I had to attach to make it long enough to work. So I knew what I was going for. I knew I needed to cut the chest down. As soon as I started putting it together, I was like, well, the arms are too far apart, so we need to cut down the chest. And then it kind of built from there. But the idea was in my head before I even started. Like, I knew that this is what I was aiming for. So I was able to get the basics down and then look at what needed filling in. In this case, I just needed to put a bit of extra armour on the sides to hide the gaps. And I was good to go. That is one way to do it, and if you are going for a particular look, if you're going for a certain idea, that is the way to tackle it. For other stuff, though, you can just start attaching, start going for it, and just see what happens. And that's what I did with these guys. And to be honest, they're obviously not as in-depth, they're not as complete in terms of, like, total changes to what they are in the same way as the Centurion is. There's no, like, structural differences to the body or the armour. There wasn't a huge amount of cutting or filing that needed doing. But I kind of wanted to make them a little bit different. I wasn't entirely sure how. I had a bunch of like techie pieces lying around and thought, why not give it a go? And to be honest, I like what's come out of it. explaining away what half this stuff does is borderline pointless because I've got no idea. Yeah, I just thought it looked cool. But sometimes you don't need like the in-depth explanation. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's just, well, they were already weird, like reincarnated hero ghost warriors in armor. I mean, what do you want from me? You know, sometimes you just don't need that depth. You can make it if you like, and at some point I'll probably sit down and actually write a feasible explanation for these guys. But for the moment, I just felt like doing something different, and that's what I ended up with. And along with these guys, that's sort of the approach that happened with these two. So I had a couple of ambots that I wasn't using. This one was not even assembled; it was still in the box. And I had this bit of that dwarf profiteers box, and I didn't know what to do with it at all. I wanted to put it on something, but it didn't fit on my Emperor's Children or anything like that. It was just kind of, I don't know. I just didn't need it for anything, but I wanted to use it because it's a cool part. I also had 3 of these chunky pieces lying around. I've got 1 more of these still. And I had this just on the sprue. I hadn't done anything with it, and for some reason I just thought, can I make it taller? Can I make it like a big, tall, lanky robot? Would that be a thing? Glued the legs onto the other legs. It's literally just both sets of legs from the Ambot kit that's made it this tall. Because you get 2 sets of legs with 2 different poses. So that's what I did. I just attached both. So don't attach the feet to those ones. And then I cut down the circular sections on the bottom pair and attached them. Required some messing about to get the feet to fit at the bottom there, because the pose is now off. It's a bit weird. Hid the joints at the front with a couple of shoulder pads. Stuck a big rock on the back and then had to hide the joint there using a... is that a Centurion shoulder pad? No, it's not. Where is that from? No, that's the Ambot part, isn't it? Yeah, that's the Ambot shoulder. There's so much random crap on these models. And yeah, I had a Grey Knight's helmet lying around, so I chucked that on. Again, this was like a super hasty paint job that I did so that I could just take them to Warhammer World. There was a big meetup we were doing, and so I wanted them done because it'd be fun. Like, I wanted like 3 colours so I could put them on the table with my Dreadnoughts if we managed to get a game in. And I was able to, which brought the army up to 4,000 points. These acted as contemptors, so these guys were stand-in contemptors for the day. They are actually the same height and width as contemptors, so it worked out pretty well. So yeah, these were very much, again, a similar approach to these, where it was just a case of, I've got this kit, I'm going to try and make something weird and wonderful, let's go, let's do it. And so this guy was born. I had another Ambot that was already made, but I hadn't done anything with and wasn't sure what to do with it, so I just turned him into the same kind of thing. Gave him a couple of Custodes swords, because I thought that looked fun. I didn't have another part like this left over, so he had part of a Skaven Stormfiend, I believe that's from. It's one of the weapons that they have, which I've cut down and messed with, and been turned into some sort of weird chimney arrangement, because, yeah, sure. Same thing with the crystals, they're from the same kit. But yeah, this whole kind of little force that I've ended up with was all born out of just wanting to see what happened. That's the only reason I made them. These guys were first. They were the first ones I did. I think. I get confused as to which way around it was, because this guy and this one were very, very close time-wise. Can't remember which came first, but I did one of these first. And because of the way that these have ended up going, these are a force now. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do with them on the tabletop. Tree dudes possibly for these guys. They're about the right height. Some sort of tech enhanced kind of living city arrangement possibly. But like these have kind of ended up as a somewhat strangely coherent force. Just because they all have that odd kind of technological feel, whilst also having some distinct fantasy stuff going on as well. Like these have definitely got a kind of steampunky feel to them. They've got the big warpstone power source on the back, but they've got the kind of the the dwarven technology things going on the top. They look a bit ramshackle because they're so tall and lanky, so they don't quite look massively advanced, but they also don't look just standard fantasy either. So I've sort of ended up with a fun little force, mostly just because I wanted to see what happened. So I'm happy with them. They obviously all need lots and lots of painting, but as a general idea, as a general force, they're pretty weirdly coherent and sit together quite nicely. So yeah, that is my Steamcast Eternals and two weird lanky Warpstone Aetherites is what I called them, because it sounds good. And yeah, you don't always need to know what you do. Sometimes you can just go for it. Sometimes you don't need a plan, you don't need an overall theme, an overall idea. You can just go, I want to see if I can make that look a bit different. And then you end up with something you're happy with. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. One of the reasons I bring this up now, by the way, I'll just shunt you lads out of the way. Go on, get out of the way. Is because tomorrow we're going to tackle these. So we've got the big old crossbow, big old kind of repeater crossbow thing, and the crew that keep it going. Now, of course, we can't just have that, a bit sort of technological though it seems, when we've got full-on wires and cables and powered weapons and augmentations and all of that stuff. No, we can't just have that be standard. So we're going to do something with this tomorrow. I'm going to film putting this stuff together and coming up with something to make it match the rest of that. So that'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. It'll be fun. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, everything or nothing. It's entirely up to you. Of course, there's an affiliate link in the description below for Element Games. You know how that works at this point. I don't need to tell you. Yeah, I will see you for the next one.